And we are back with more G1 CLIMAX 34 daily coverage here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. Hello, Warren is right here with you to talk about night 12 of the G1 CLIMAX 34. Holy smokes, we're just inching closer and closer towards the end. We've got 2 nights of action per block left, so 4 nights in all. 2 nights of A block, 2 nights of B block. We're so close to the end here, folks. You can almost taste it, but not really. I wouldn't want to taste, a wrestler, a final match between pro wrestlers. I wouldn't want to taste that. Sounds very gross. It's extremely unappetizing. And since we're starting off this edition with such an illustrious bang, let me just remind you that likes on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes and reviews and ratings on your favorite podcast applications help grow this very weird podcast tremendously. But let's get to it. Let's start talking about tonight's show. August 7, 2024, the second night of the Korakuen shows. We knew this was a sellout, right? So 1,500 is what 1,503 is what's reported. So it's essentially the same thing back to back. Man, these Korakuen shows though, they're special, aren't they? The atmosphere, the crowd, the wrestlers getting a little more into it. The past 2 nights, nights 11, night 12, are probably my favorites since night 1. Like overall, these were tremendous nights of pro wrestling. This does not disappoint either. And just as a comparative, as opposed to last year in the G1 CLIMAX 33 on night 12. Which was at the Hiroshima Sun Plaza. 2,006 people were there for a show that was main evented by Shingo Takagi and Dave Finlay. And in the co-main event, you had Tetsuya Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. So that's nonetheless a pretty stacked finale those were the C and D block matches that wrapped up that night. I mean, look, that was a good main event, and something tells me, if there was a possibility here to draw more. Well, of course, like if it was sold out, then you do have the possibility to draw more. That's the idea. But nonetheless, New Japan has to be happy with how this is going. G1 has been going as far as attendance goes. Like, it hasn't been they haven't been doorbusters. Is doorbusters the right word here? Maybe blockbusters is what I was looking more to say. So they haven't been tearing down the house is what I'm trying to say. And they haven't been reversing the fortunes either as far as attendance goes. But I'll be curious to look at the graphs towards the end of the tournament, but I have a pretty good feeling that everything was sort of a little bit on the rise. I think there's a positive year over year in regards to the G1 CLIMAX 34. So that's good news. The results, why don't we go with that? Jeff Cobb defeated Boltin Oleg. Konosuke Takeshita defeated El Phantasmo. Yota Tsuji got the best of HENARE. Narita defeated Yuya Uemura. And in the main event, Hirooki Goto back on his thing, defeated David Finlay. Let's go right ahead. Jeff Cobb defeating Boltin Oleg. I thought this rocked. Like, this was tremendous. This is probably my favorite G1 opener of the entire tournament. The Haas fight, and that, whatever you wanted out of this Haas fight, whatever you thought it was going to give you, it gave you exactly that. I feel, you know, the feeling out period is, you know, is tests of strength. You know, and early on, Oleg is, you know, he's gut wrenching. He does a gut wrench suplex on Jeff Cobb, and that's tremendous. And they're just, you know, beating each other up, dropping big moves. Jeff Cobb does the gut wrench swing that Oleg usually does, but Oleg shortly thereafter does it after a big German suplex as well. A really, really good German suplex on top of that. Some slams by Cobb, standing moonsault. Oleg avoids the Tour of the Islands, lands the kamikaze, but Cobb kicks out. He fights back a little bit and then lands the Tour of the Islands proper. I gave this 3.5 stars. I thought this was a tremendous way to kick off the night with these two big boys going right at it. I thought it was tremendous. Big hoss battle. And thanks to this, Jeff Cobb now sits atop Block B with 10 points, all by himself. And Oleg is at the bottom with 4. He hasn't budged. And I am considering that Boltin Oleg is eliminated from the tournament. We'll talk about it when we get to the standings. But if you ask me, even though there is mathematically a possibility, I'm going to soft eliminate Oleg, Boltin Oleg, and I don't think that's a. I don't think that's much of a stretch. You know, I don't think I'm like reinventing things here, but we'll talk about it when we get to the to the standings part. But look, great match to kick it off. And then Konosuke Takeshita defeated El Phantasmo. I saw so much weird discourse around this match. I saw so much bizarre discourse around this match. Somehow saying that, you know, they did too much in this match, that it was a, you know, and because they did too much, this was probably an audition for El Phantasmo, you know, auditioning for Tony Khan. Wrestling fans are very strange sometimes. I did not think they did too much in this match. I thought this match was, first of all, it's one of the best matches of the tournament. I'm sort of wondering if it's my new favorite, just eking out Takeshita and Goto. I'm wondering if but this match was tremendous. Look, the story of this match, in case you're wondering why they did too much, is that El Phantasmo knows his back is against the wall here and he needs to start scoring some points. He's got 3 matches left, including this one, and he just has to score some points to remain in the conversation. Otherwise, you know, he's going to disappear. And that's the feeling that he got, that he delivered, I should say, going into this fight, where it was like, okay, like, you know, shakes Takeshita's hand to start, but it's like, let's go, you know. And this is the El Phantasmo that I like, I love, that I always know is in there, because he's able to have these high energy, high octane, meaningful matches. And you know, there's a lot of times he sort of coasts through stuff, but here there was no coasting. Here there was a true to form story to tell, and with a fervor and a passion that I really wished he would just he'd let shine through just at least once or twice in other matches of the tournament. Not just laying it all out on the line when your back is against the wall and you're like a caged animal. You know, it's like, no. Like, I was missing this. And this is why I'm still a believer in El Phantasmo as being a top guy, because he can do it. He can absolutely keep up with the likes of Konosuke Takeshita, which everyone kind of agrees. A lot of people agree. Most people agree. Maybe we'll put it like that. That he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. So, you know, they're straight up, like, you know, they're going after each other and whatnot, and they're, you know, Takeshita, you know, is on the floor. ELP dives, and the dive, you know, knocks Takeshita over the railing, and then ELP hits the top turnbuckle and does an Orihara moonsault all the way over the rail. You know how he usually does like the splash, like the Thunder Kiss 86ers? Now he does the friggin' moonsault from the top rope all the way into the audience. Fantastic stuff. Like, into the audience. They had to move people away. Like, that was great stuff. Then back in the ring, he does the springboard senton lion salt combination. Blue Thunder Bomb by Takeshita, and he got a couple of extra rotations on this one. These guys were feeling it. This was really good. A Frankensteiner by ELP, followed by the Thunder Kiss 86, and a Poison Rana. He hits the CR2, but Takeshita kicks out. Takeshita drops ELP with the Bastard Driver off the apron through a table. That's right. That's the spot. This is the thing I think that a lot of people are saying, oh, they did too much. You know, it's like, this is like, there was a table pulled out from the previous evening, from last night, you know, where that still had the dents in it from being thrown around in the Gabe Kidd Jake Lee match, and the Bastard Driver just goes right through the table in a terrific spot, an absolutely terrific spot. And you know, people do cool moves. They do such good stuff. It's like, why are we saying they're doing too much? Everything in this match is connecting. All throughout the match up until this point, we've got ELP doing everything he can to score some points. Takeshita doing his offense, maybe doesn't feel it's quite as effective, and he's like, look, this guy's not gonna break easy. So I got to do what I can. And terrific visual of ELP's back split open. Well, split open. You know, he gets busted open off of the move. He's bleeding a lot. And he struggles to get back in. He's met with a forearm by Takeshita. And then ELP lands a sudden death. Crowd is on their feet. They're going nuts for this. They're going completely bonkers for this. They are. Korakuen is entirely into it, and I would even say that they're backing ELP up. They want ELP to win. They love the ELP. They love the El Phantasmo in Japan. They really do. If you want a surefire babyface Goto, don't look too far. And ELP does a victory roll, okay? And Takeshita reverses through it and right into the wheelbarrow German. Like, there's no way they're doing too much. This is great stuff. And impressive stuff on top of that. Crowd is on fire when ELP kicks out of the bridge. And he does his best, man. He valiantly fights back, but the Raging Fire does it, man. Takeshita gets the win. Oh, this is such a good one. Such a great match. It had passion and stakes, and it felt, once again, like a G1 match. It felt like it. This was a tremendous performance. Tremendous athleticism. I don't think anyone did too much here. I think everything connected and made sense. If they do one spot through a table and you say it's too much, I don't know what to tell you. Because everything made sense in the match from top to bottom. And there were some great exchanges. People get mad when wrestlers do moves now. Does everyone want wrestlers to just slap on a headlock now? Is that what we want? Is this what we want out of wrestling? Got to slow things down? Hell no, man. Big time moves, a huge crescendo. This rocked. And Korakuen was there the whole time. And it's a bummer because ELP's tournament is probably done as well. We'll talk about that when we get to the standings. But what a match. And Takeshita involved once for the second time in one of the best matches of the tournament. I mean, here's the thing, talking about ELP auditioning for Tony Khan. How about Tony Khan looking at this and realizing, I should be doing more with this Takeshita guy, shouldn't I? I shouldn't just have him be, a guy who can work with top guys but never be a top guy, right? Maybe, Tony. How about that? Just absolutely tremendous stuff. 4.5 stars once again. HENARE, Yota Tsuji, excuse me, defeated HENARE next. I thought this was very good, and I feel like I'm the high man on this, but I thought this was very, very good. Now the feeling out period with tests of strength, we get an early disaster kick by HENARE with the senton, and Tsuji is doing his combination stomps, and he's doing tornillos, and he does an avalanche Samoan drop. Was it him or was it him? Well, I just have avalanche Samoan drop here and I didn't write who did it. That's kind of dumb on my part, right? HENARE lands a berserker bomb. They trade blows. Yota Tsuji lays him out with a lariat. They fire up. There's a flurry of strikes by HENARE, followed by a rampage. Headbutts by both, and we get ourselves a Gene Blaster for the big finish here by Tsuji. I give this 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was really a good, strong fight between two big boys. Now, the issue that I do have, though, is that I'm coming off of the previous match, and I'm like, well, where's the fire here in Yota Tsuji? And again, like, I understand what they want to do with Yota Tsuji. Like, commentary puts over quite often, like, oh, very confident, very self-centered on what he does. And, he's, it's his, he puts himself before anyone else. And it's, okay, cool, that's fine. So he's, he feels he's above everyone. But that doesn't mean that he can't show any passion ever. And I haven't seen the spark in Yota Tsuji this tournament so far, but we're getting really close to the finish here, that I've seen in El Phantasmo, that I've seen in Hirooki Goto, or Konosuke Takeshita, and he doesn't even go there, or Gabe Kidd for that matter, like all these people at some point during this tournament were just like flickers of light. And we're like, this is tremendous, Where's the big Yota Tsuji moment where's the big Yota Tsuji moment where he's gonna tear down the house? Because I still firmly believe, and again, this is not a hot take because many people feel the same way. He's fine. This guy's almost a made man in this company. Because of his size, his presence, crowd connection, and he's good. But where's the second gear? Where's the second gear? And I don't see it. Or at least I didn't see it in this tournament. But nonetheless, he is now at 8 points. HENARE stays at 6. Narita defeated Yuya Uemura. I don't have much to say about this. I didn't care much for this match. I thought it was a mediocre match overall. Lots of distractions. Yoshinobu Kanemaru was hanging around. He's trying to get stuff done, and I did like, and he's right. Chris Charlton was comparing that diving crossbody that Uemura did over the to the floor. He compared it to Mayu Iwatani, because Mayu's thing is that she's just clumsy. Sometimes does things that look a little unpolished because maybe that's part of her charm. And Yuya's crossbody was like, whoa, he's like, ah! It looked like, I was launching myself at someone through the air. I thought that was funny. Yeah, ref distraction and low blow, and Narita gets the win with the X Factor. I gave this 2 3/4 stars. Narita now has 8 points. Yuya still at 6. I think we're done with Yuta for victories and stuff, right? I think this is it, right? I think we adequately called this one. Yeah. I think we're good. He might win another match, but he's not going to be in the conversation for this for the playoffs. I do not think. And then the main event, excuse me, Hirooki Goto defeated Dave Finlay. And there's another great one. I gave this match 4 stars. Let's just get it out of the way right now. I thought it was another tremendous performance by Hirooki Goto. David Finlay was his perfect foil in this one here. Just playing your straight up standard heel. Having some great heat segments. Ruining the hope spots. You know the drill. He being Finlay, he's even removing the padding from the floor. Of course, it turns against him, but, Goto has to pull out a Nushi-Goroshi to get in control. He does a solo Shoto, the finishing move that he does with Yoshihashi and their tag team. Even gives old Yoshihashi the wink and the gun. Well, he didn't give him the gun. But he sort of, how you doing, pal? Finlay does the into Oblivion, a buckle bomb and a power bomb into the corner as well. Goto pulls the Shoten Kai to a rousing cheer from the crowd. People love that move. They still love the Shoten Kai. I don't know why he should finish a match with the Shoten Kai at some point. Just love it. And then Chris Charlton loves it. He's always loved it. Even when Kevin Kelly was still the commentator, Chris Charlton they'd both lose their mind. Goto tries to distract, the Shillelagh gets involved, but it doesn't become a factor. Goto eventually gets it and tosses it away. He blocks Finlay's finisher, and Finlay struggles to avoid the GTR. Like he's in the position, and Goto is trying to hammer lock him, right? And Finlay is fighting back. I like that stuff. It's just like, no, don't do this. But he gets the best of him and does the GTR for the win. And Korakuen just loses its fucking mind again. And they just go completely bonkers for the win. I've worked myself into a shoot now. We talked about it last episode, but I have jumped on this. I have jumped on this train. We're going down the Goto. We're going down the Goto Railroad, all the way to Wrestle Kingdom. I think it makes terrible amounts of sense. I think the amount of babyface heat he has right now is amazing. Everyone is in. Hell, man, he leaves the ring and he's holding up little girls up in his arm, little kids, you know, cheering. I'm like, Jesus Christ. There we go. Like he's kissing babies. Let's go. Babyface. Look, this is exactly what they teased for the New Japan Cup. Remember, this is exactly what they teased. Same type of energy, same type of vibe. And they went into it particularly hard when Finlay got injured out. So that's exactly what they were leaning into. It's just a continuation of that story. Wouldn't it be a perfect story to tell than to wrap it up at Wrestle Kingdom in January with him defeating Tetsuya Naito and getting the prize that has always eluded him? Because like we mentioned last time, he's won everything in New Japan. He's won all the tournaments. Well, maybe not Best of Super Juniors. Or, you know, Super Junior Tag League. But those are, I feel the reasons for those are obvious. But everything else, he's won. He's a G1 winner, a New Japan Cup winner. World Tag League. He's held the Never title multiple times. Like, what's left? There's one thing that's eluding him. It's such a great story. It would be tremendous. And at this point, I would have no doubt that this match would draw. I have no doubt in my mind. Let's say Yota Tsuji won the tournament, okay? Let's say Yota Tsuji's going to the Dome. I'd be like, oh, interesting little gamble here. You know, I'd be for it, don't get me wrong. But how they've been handling Goto and the crowd reactions, I'd be staying up all night. If I'm Geto and I'm getting Dick Togo and Jado around the table, and I'm like, and he's like, and then he goes, we gotta reset everything. You know, we gotta reset everything the last few nights because this Goto thing is hot, baby. You know, we gotta something like that. You know, and then he convenes the, you know, all the he brings in the guy who was supposed to win. He being Goto, and he's like, look, change of plans, man. We're going with this. And the other guy will throw a fit, but Geto's like, sorry. Like, we got to go with the crowd on this one. We're trying to make money here, pal. There's more money to draw in Hirooki Goto at this point than there is any of the young guys. Right now, there's more money in Hirooki Goto than in Yota Tsuji, Yuya Uemura, Shota Umino, Ren Narita, Callum Newman, Boltin Oleg, all of them combined. I've worked myself into a shoot on this one. This is what I want to see happen now. I'm so stoked about it. Like, what a compelling final for the G1. Because you would always still have that doubt. You would always still have that doubt where you're wondering, are they really going to go through with it? Are they really going to? They're not going to do it, are they? They're not going to have Goto win the G1 this year, right? No, they can't. It doesn't make sense. And yet, you know, they just might do it. The intrigue around it just comes naturally. The final itself would be buzzworthy. Tremendous. Great main event. Well done. Well played by Finlay. Finlay continues to have a terrific streak of matches. Just great stuff. It continued here. Perfect foil for Goto. 4 stars. Goto, rising from the ashes, has 8 points. Finlay stays at 8. Let's talk about, well, the recommendations I think are clear. They're very clear. Like, the best match of the show is one of the best matches of the tournament. Konosuke Takeshita defeating El Phantasmo. Like, that's one you absolutely make time for. You go out of your way to watch it. I would recommend David Finlay and Hirooki Goto as well. I think it was a tremendous main event. Not quite as good as Phantasmo and Takeshita, but we're splitting hairs here. And look, but then again, if you have like 90 minutes to 2 hours to just plop down and watch only the block matches, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna be like, man, this is all of this is great. All of this is so good. Jeff Cobb and Boltin was tremendous. Like really, the low point is Uemura and Narita. I was gonna say Naruto for some reason. That would be infinitely cooler, but you can just skip that if you want. You can just go right over it and never mind. So those are my recommendations. As far as the standings go, well, Jeff Cobb is at the top with 10 points. Around the 8th blob, we've got David Finlay, Konosuke Takeshita, Ren Narita, Yota Tsuji, and Hirooki Goto. So all of these boys have 8. Yuya Uemura and HENARE are at 6. And Boltin, Oleg, and El Phantasmo are rounding up the bottom at 4. Now, we mentioned earlier that we mentioned earlier that I think that we should be soft eliminating El Phantasmo from the tournament, and here's why. His 2 final matches are 2 of the top guys in the block, 2 favorites to move on to the playoffs, and in some people's cases, these are at least one of these 2 guys is one of their favorites to win the whole thing. Dave Finlay and Hirooki Goto. I don't see him winning both. Unless we want to completely spoil, unless Goto is ready to completely swerve us, you know, and knock Finlay out of contention and Goto out of contention, which I think would be a mistake at this point, unless he had drawn up these plans like in May and it's like, I'm sticking to these plans, you know, nothing, we're not changing. But I really, like, I would pivot so incredibly hard. I would pivot so hard. So I don't see him winning. I really, really don't. I could see him spoiling maybe for one of these 2 guys, maybe Finlay or maybe Goto, you know, but the bar's too high at this point. You know, Goto has morphed into a guy in this tournament. And Finlay is a guy in Gato's kayfabe. So, and if he beats both, well, you know, he has, you know, Takeshita. Look, Cobb has the tiebreaker over him, right? Takeshita has a tiebreaker over him as well. And he does have tiebreakers over Yota, Tsuji, and Uemura, but I don't think he's going to, but you know, Uemura, I don't think is going to be a factor. Tsuji, maybe. And that's weird, right? Isn't this weird? Isn't it odd that I'm sitting here going, Tsuji maybe might be, when this was the block that was supposed to be all about, not the block, but the G1 that was supposed to be about the young guys, right? Could you do a playoffs where it's Jeff Cobb, Dave Finlay, and Hirooki Goto exiting the block to go to the playoffs? Could you, in your right mind, do that? That'd be weird, right? In this G1 that started with, you know, under the banner of rejuvenation, right? Of, you know, the new generation coming forward. The Hiroshi Tanahashi's 10-point plan. One of them being about, you know, putting new guys in bigger spots. So yeah, the more I'm thinking about it right now, Cobb, Finlay, Goto, all in the final. It doesn't make sense. At least one of these guys has to go. At least one of these guys has to go. And I mean, it could be Jeff Cobb. Like if Cobb loses his next two, and Finlay and Goto win their next two, that's fine. It's not. There's no point there's no nonsense on the point differential stuff. You know, they're not going to do wackadoo scenarios to finish. They never. They're not going to do that. Where it's like, oh, but when you look at the elimination, they're going to have some clear-cut winners to move on to the playoffs. They don't want you at the end. They don't want at the end of the last night of block action to have someone pull up a graph on TV and start explaining the points distribution to show who has the tiebreaker on who. That's for us nerds. But they're not going to do that. They won't. I'm convinced they won't. So all that being said, I'm soft eliminating El Phantasmo because I think the hill is too tall to climb at this point, and I don't think it's realistic. And Goto, I'm sorry, but Goto has a significant chance of qualifying. He really, really does. Look, his last two matches are against HENARE and Phantasmo, as we mentioned. Two very plausible victories for him. Like these are two absolutely plausible people he could defeat. And the only person who is in the blob of 8 right now, outside of who are that he's fought, he's not even in the blob of 8. The only guy who is truly in contention right now for the playoffs, Jeff Cobb, has the tiebreaker over Goto. Otherwise, Goto has the tiebreaker over Finlay. He's got it over Boltin, who's not an issue, over Takeshita, over Tsuji. Narita has the tiebreaker. That could be a spoiler. You could go for heat here, sure. Uemura has the tiebreaker over Goto. Uemura's not going to be a factor. I sincerely believe that. Moving on, I don't think he's going to be he's had his shine in the tournament. Now we're focusing on the winners, and he's not going to be in that circle towards the end. Goto has a legitimate shot at the very least making it to the playoffs, something that no one believed would be the thing. Everyone sort of thought that he was just going to be, the gatekeeper, the Tomohiro Ishii type. He's just going to get in there and beat the piss out of people and then lose and rinse and repeat. But how could you not be jacked for him after that show in Korakuen? How could you not be jacked? So again, look, still a lot of people in contention mathematically. 8 people. Jeff Cobb currently at the top. Takeshita holds a tiebreaker over him. So does Ren Narita. Who has he got left? Finlay and Tsuji. So those are significant matches that are left for these top spots here. It's still very wild, man. It's still so very wild. We're not done. We're not done, and we cannot be eliminating people just yet. Not when not when 3 people advance. You just can't. I don't even think Cobb is a lock. See, there's that opposite too, where it's like, who's a lock? I don't know. There's still too much uncertainty, because even if Even if Cobb lost his last two and was at 10 points, well, Warren, he's probably going to go forward, right? Well, what happens if Finlay and Goto win their next two? Or, and Tsuji, Yota Tsuji. He's got Cobb and Uemura. He's got Cobb and Uemura left. I mean, you see what I mean? Like, things are so volatile still. Exciting stuff. It's good stuff. Keeps you guessing. Keeps you on your toes. The matches still feel meaningful. I like it. So we are going to take a look at what's coming up next, which is tomorrow, the last day in this 3-day stretch. We've left Korakuen Hall and we are heading to the Yokohama Budokan in Kanagawa for the second to last night of A block action. Tetsuya Naito versus Callum Newman in the opener. There's no way Naito's losing this. I mean, if he loses it, I'll be shocked, but there's no way he's losing this. Sanada versus the Great Okan. I've been enjoying Great Okan's tournament so far. I think he's been tremendous. Is he going to get a good... He seems to be getting a little come from behind pushy push here. I don't know. Let's go. Let's go. If he gets a win and we can keep Sanada out of the conversation, that, for the playoffs, that's fine too. Shota Umino versus Jake Lee. As much as Jake Lee's couple of last matches have been improvements on his first few, this one has the potential to go down the drain. Because you have Jake Lee on one hand, and it'll depend it'll depend on what mood Shota Umino wakes up in tomorrow morning. That's all. That's it's going to be dependent on. Semi-main event is going to be Zack Sabre Jr. versus Gabe Kidd. I'm very much looking forward to that. That should be a fun time. And Shingo Takagi versus Evil in the main event. That should not probably be a fun time. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Evil gets a win back and he goes up to 12. I kind of feel like Gabe Kidd needs to stay in the conversation here. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the win over Zack Sabre Jr. Zack stays at 10. We will probably be, next time we speak, we will probably have a really good idea as to where this is going for Block A. And we'll probably be eliminating a bunch of people and talking a little more potential scenarios for the big finish. Speaking of big finishes, here it comes. Thank you everyone for joining me today on another edition of the G1 CLIMAX 34 daily coverage here. I appreciate it tremendously. Hope you're having a great week so far, and I hope it continues to get better. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow to break down night 13 on August 8th. So we'll be here. Hope you're here as well. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.